All right, we're back. Saturday, working on that 3100. Took it for a test drive. Ran out of the upholstery shop over to Ace. Picked up some stuff. Running pretty good. Couple little. Looks like it got power steering leak and maybe a little bit out of the radiator cap. So we'll have to address that once it cools down. However, was making a roll pan fork because we mounted the bumper. I believe that's off a Chevy, like a 48 Chevy car. It looks pretty good on there. So kind of some rusty and crusty underneath. Basically what I'm doing is making a pan to sit in there, but I haven't quite figured out how to mount it. So I thought that I would take a few minutes to run over to the bead roller while nobody was here at the shop, and I can kind of do it on my own. And I had drawn this out a few months back, and I believe I'll tell you it's going to sit about here. I'm going to 45 this up. I'd like to try to do about a 40 or 45 degree angle and then weld it in from the back, so it kind of comes, the back side of our tailgate comes out. This is the back outside of the rear of the tailgate. I want my panel to sit in, kind of a recessed look like they would have had back in 1952. What we're going to do is I'm going to throw this on the bead roller, and we're going to try to bead roll some of this out, at least outline it with the hard wheel, and then it'll be a little bit here and there pushing the panels up. I don't know if I'll get it all done today. It's actually kind of a time-consuming progress, so I'll throw a GoPro up and then this here camera on our camera rig, and we'll see if we can get some bead rolling done. Alright, then that pretty much wraps up our bead rolling for the day. I was down to Jamie Jordan's art die set, and then a baileighs bead roller. Hopefully we can put this in the middle of the tailgate here. Kind of warped out, so we're going to have to do a little bending, and maybe sometimes you can add a little shape this way to kind of take away some of that potato chip. And we can come back here and use the shrinker stretcher and hopefully get it pretty flat. And then if we put a little bit of a 45 break in there, it should help even that out. Hopefully it'll go into the tailgate. If not, well, it's probably going to go on the wall. One way or the other, it will definitely get used. Alright, back here, kind of taking a break on some stuff at the shop. Figure I'd play with this a little bit before the day's over. Get the tailgate bead rolled out. I'm basically trying to get this shrunk in because it was all potato chip from us stretching so much metal here. You're taking a bunch of metal, stretching it in, taking all that, so this kind of warps out. So I shrunk a little bit and then put it in the brake, put a brake in it, and then shrunk it some more. But what we're thinking is we're going to set that pretty much right about here, our half marks. I'm going to make this piece here. I'm not going to do that with just something I sketched out. My idea would be to break this at 90, weld it in here, break these kind of like I did this here, just to kind of set it in there, and then plus it kind of helped straighten that panel out. And then I should sit something like that, and then right about here I'm going to break this up at 45, go across, and then back down at 45. And if I do this right, I should be able to weld this piece. I'll stick it back in the brake and bring this up, and hopefully I can meet the two inside this 45 degree angle that's going to come up, and hopefully I can weld in there and get a nice clean tight straight weld. Do it on that brake where it comes up, it comes flat up. I'm going to do it in that brake to hopefully keep some of the warpage down in that piece of metal. So basically it'll kind of have like a factory Chevy tailgate look, where they had kind of like a flat spot and then they had two ribs and it said Chevy or GMC in the middle, Chevrolet. I mean, that's kind of the plan. We'll see if it works. Alright, back at it. We're just kind of finishing up for the day. Got the tailgate almost tacked together. I ended up making a pan and bent the edge past 90. Or almost 90 when it's past 45. Almost to a 90. So I got to remake this pan. And that happens to be this bend here. So I don't know. We'll have to remake that. I think if I try to straighten that, it's probably going to warp this, and I don't really want to warp this too much. The idea is this was kind of potato chipped out, so we had stretched it so far, and this was going to be welded. This panel will be welded to this panel on this seam here to hopefully help hold this from warping, and also just kind of be able to keep this nice and clean, and just some grind marks on the inside of there. We'll go ahead and tack this in. Probably just run a few tacks around there, little 1/2-inch tacks, kind of lock it in. We'll come back and seam seal like we kind of did back here, and that's just to try to keep the moisture out from between the panels. So we kind of messed up there, didn't get that one done today, but we got tomorrow, so we're not in that big hurry. On my license plate bracket, probably gonna put down, build a couple. I guess it goes like that. Oh, gonna match the truck by the time I'm done. We're going to probably mount that somewhere in there. But I'm going to come up over this because I don't want it to hit something and get ripped off. So I think probably about in there. I don't think that I'm going to leave the tailgate where open and close, because it's not like we're probably going to use the bed for much. So I'll probably go ahead and maybe add a thread insert inside here, drill a 1/4-inch hole, and then basically just run a bolt to hold that together. And then I've got one chain. Hopefully we can find another ugly used one. If not, we'll order 2 new ones, and then probably cut this off, ink this up, and then we'll cut a hole. Originally you would take these and put them through here, and then the tailgate had a hole, and basically it just poked through there like so. So I think what we'll do is probably drill a hole in here to where hopefully we can just set that through there and let the chain hang. You'll bend this a little bit like 180, and then that way it just kind of sits in there and hangs. At least that's kind of the idea. It's about 6:30 or so on Thursday, so I'm gonna call this a wrap. All right. Well, we're back here on a Saturday. We got the tailgate more or less welded in. We went ahead and remade this piece because we messed it up. So now I'm just gonna try, and I had marked a blue line where I thought was mostly center along here, and kind of tacked weld this piece in, and have to do a little fill there. But I was thinking about maybe cutting this up about 1 inch and then rolling that in to where it's kind of flat here, but I'm really not sure yet. Here's the back. I think it's enough that we can hammer and dolly these in. It's got to come in together, and then what I'll do is I'll take a little air saw and cut along this line right here, and then we'll hammer and dolly and kind of work the 2 pieces together as we go and get this thing kind of a little more squared up in there. And then we'll pretty much weld this piece in here, and then the back side will, or on the front side, will come back in and add some seam sealer. Once we get this all prepped out, and just before we clear it, we'll put it in some seam sealer. So it's kind of the plan. I'm going to kind of work on that, try to get that thing a little bit closer to putting clear on it. that pretty much wraps up the day. It's about 5 or so on a Saturday, we're gonna call it. But we did get the tailgate on, more or less bolted in, and where it will stay. That's where we got so far. I went ahead and I had one of these original chains, and then drilled a hole inside the tailgate so we could put in there, and that little hook hanging on kind of like with a factory. And then I think these were kind of notorious for opening up, you know, like bouncing around and coming out. So I went ahead and put a thread insert in the gate part, and then just run a little 1/4 inch threaded bolt in here to kind of help hold that, and it ain't going nowhere. Snug that down. You can kind of see the head of the thread insert there is up against the side of that, so it's bolted down tight. And I think that's pretty much it. We're going to call this a night. I'm going to call this a day. Remember, if you like these videos, this type of goofy stuff, give us a like, a comment, a subscribe, and remember, get out there and create something today, even if it sucks. Peace.